Golden Time is not good. That is to say that in my personal opinion, it's quite bad. What makes it bad though is a broad subject. Its supporting cast is more two-dimensional than the medium it takes place in. Having deeply unsympathetic main characters does not help. The setting would normally be enough to excite me. Finally, a break from fucking high schools. Yet they somehow managed to squander it, using it as a cardboard box for the characters to move through. But I think the single worst element of this anime is not the characters or the setting, but the fundamental choices made to drive the plot. Amnesia is cliché, sure. The off-limits dating my mate's ex is cliché, yes. Yet here we have what might be the swiftest series of ridiculous or just downright dumb choices that take us away from what could actually provide us with a decent story, or maybe even a profound one. Golden Time is the culmination of everything we've come to accept as the standard in anime. Relationships being based on nothing more than the arrival of first girl in the narrative, and then characters proceeding to spend the rest of the series being garroted by the red string until their last breath chokes out and we all cry tears of relief because we've finally been freed.
それは受け取れない。万里との未来は約束できない。ずっと言わなかったけど、もう潮時だと思う。大学ももともと三つを追いかけていっただけのことだったしね。初めからこういうシナリオだったんだよ。え？さようなら。
Banri is insufferably bland, and Coco is insufferably arrogant, and then suddenly they're in love with each other. Despite the development being, patchy, to say the least. I'm sorry, but being kidnapped and escaping a cult for a single night is probably not enough to form the basis for genuine love, let alone friendship. That's to say that Coco doesn't love Banri. In fact, I have my doubts that Banri actually loves her either. But my key hypothesis isn't the shallowness of this forced love. No, my hypothesis is that there are several potentially deeply invigorating anime that could be made out of this series, and yet at every chance we are given it swerves, leaving us covered in anticipation with nowhere to go but downhill. I love romance anime for the chance for an inspiring tale of romance. I want to see people falling in love despite adversity and struggle just as much as any other. But what Golden Time gives us isn't love, nor is it romantic. Coco initially sees Banri as nothing more than a tool to get her closer to Mitsuo, before rapidly falling in love with Banri. Except the problem is we don't see this. By the time that Coco admits her feelings for Banri, the total events they've actually gone through haven't left me convinced of her feelings, let alone a general audience. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Look, just a bare few moments before the police station discussion between Banri and Coco, the pair have been fighting tooth and nail, and it's not pretty. Banri has mood whiplashes between placid and emotional, which completely take you out of the idea that he's actually feeling anything at all. It feels more irrational than anything. He's furious with Coco just a bit earlier, yet her running him down with a bike and awkwardly confessing her feelings makes him feel better about it. Like, I get that he has a crush on Coco, but I'm sorry, I don't buy it. It just doesn't seem realistic. It's frankly downright embarrassing at times, and that's usually fine for me. I mean, I've watched Magikoi. I can take some embarrassing nonsense. But the tortured stringing out of the relationship between Banri and Coco makes me long for the Hermit Crab ending, or even the visual novel Hermit Crab ending, which is probably a lot worse. I digress. Every incident in their relationship is completely avoidable within a healthy, standard relationship. Banri could have told Coco about his past friendship and relationship with Linda, but he opts not to, going for a cheap lie which only puts their relationship under unnecessary strain. Banri's direct lies and lies of omission only begin to pile up more as the story goes along. Mitsuo not knowing about Banri's amnesia and past relationship with Linda puts a strain on his own potential relationship with Linda for no good reason other than Banri and Linda opting for the least healthy way to deal with the past, feigning ignorance. And by the gods, that's a common theme here. From the very start, Linda feigns ignorance to who Banri is, thinking that it would be easier on him. But as we see, the main genesis for Banri gaining his memories is learning a bit more about his past. So wouldn't it have been easier for her to tell him from the outset? Sure, she doesn't know that, but they're supposed to be good friends. Like, it's unrealistic to think that she wouldn't, try and help him. But then again, Banri feigns ignorance about his relationship with Linda, which leads to Koko being hurt by this lie of omission, and Linda as well is hurt by this, because he overreacts and flips out on her. And then in turn, they hurt Mitsuo and Shinami for refusing to tell them, which leaves 2D-kun sad and alone while his relationship and with his friendship group fucking implodes because they won't sit down and have a simple conversation. Look, I'm 24. I've been a stupid 20-year-old and I've done dumb stuff. Lots of dumb stuff. But never have I continued a cavalcade of lies so extreme that it resulted in my girlfriend breaking up with me and my entire friend group left in shreds. There's a certain threshold that is crossed repeatedly by Golden Time, and it's not particularly subtle about it. The consequences for the actions are nil. No one ever faces a consequence for skipping a class. Banri single-handedly ruins the prospects for the Oriental Festival Club to perform the Awa dance, and yet no one blames him? They just shrug and move on. When Koko falls asleep and bounces 2D-kun's car off the barrier, we are informed of consequences. But really, they're not there. They're brushed aside because of the fact that Koko's family is deeply wealthy. The repairs of 2D's car, the repairs to the barrier, social ramifications for a car accident are really so inconsequential that Koko's breakdown is a much bigger deal. And so is the role it plays for the group. Really, the accident becomes secondary to Koko having a breakdown. And oddly symbolic in this is the fact that Shinami's injury, a superficial cut, heals up in the time it takes for the consequences of a car accident to be completely expunged. Now, this might be intentional. I don't think it is. I don't really think they were thinking that much about it. There's a tiredness to the storytelling of Golden Time, and it's best shown by how characters emote. We see tears, we hear screams, but not a whole lot in between. The characters are either gleeful, miserable, or screaming bloody murder, and usually all of these emotions are hit hard and fast.
リンダ先輩ごめんなさい
じゃないのおめえらもコンパやってたんか
俺の名前がないこの場にいられても迷惑なんだよ俺はここで楽しみたいんだよ
どうしたの
リンダ助けてくれ早く来てくれやだやだやだやだコウコと一緒に生きていたいんだ
This is a problem in quite a few anime, to say the least, with shouting being seen as a substitute for actual content or depth. But it stands out like a broken thumb when the series is relying on emotional weight to drive its story forwards. There's a lot of room for comfortable slice of life, yet realistic stories set in young adulthood, but Golden Time seems to have a problem with that. This brings me, of course, to the single most infuriating part of Golden Time. Amnesia Ghost. The ghost of Tada Banri, haunting his every step, bringing down his world around him in order to get another chance at life, another chance to express his feelings of love for Linda. A ghost which apparently also has the power to change the weather, cause coincidences so your friends can't hang out, and make everyone pass out from exhaustion and crash your car. Golden Time spends a lot of time battering us over the head with how realistic it is. Sort of. How it's a serious take on the bitterness of youthful relationships and the entangled web that they weave between us, but yet, again, Chaotic Amnesia Ghost comes in to completely detach us from that. Perhaps this might have worked if the symbolism of the ghost was hammered home even further. The regrets of our past chaining us down and fucking with our present relationships is a very real phenomenon. Yet when it comes to it, we see it not causing Banri to psych out at just the most important moments of his relationship, but it also impacts the world around him. There's a tale to be told, but it's just not. What we see is almost a Scott Pilgrim-esque, the movie, not the graphic novel, approach to a tale of self-forgiveness. Bun-Ri only sort of reckons with his past, being content to live again as his new self until being shaken free from it by the love of Koko. Bun-Ri's past is toxic to the present Bun-Ri, while Bun-Ri's present is toxic to the past Bun-Ri. Both are seemingly irreconcilable, as the narrative is swift to point out. Yet the answer to the solution isn't Bun-Ri engaging in self-development or personally working through and attempting to re-engage with his past, accepting his parents, accepting his old friends. No, it's the power of love.
I fucking hate this shit, man.
The struggle with anime as a medium is that we inevitably come back to these tropes. The power of friendship, the power of love, the power of overpowered power itself. But there's a way to handle these so that at the very least, it doesn't come off as incredibly tired or shallow. I've already mentioned the side characters being bland in my eyes, and I'm going to explain why. Tsunami serves as a cheap love interest to antagonize Koko when she's in love with Mitsuo, and then changes her entire personality to serve as an antagonist to further inflame the conflict in the triangle of Koko, Bun-Ri, and Linda. We know little about her apart from her family moving away and her interest in filmmaking. For Mitsuo, we know that he's a romantic, quite shallow in his romantic pursuits, and in a business degree. For 2D-kun, we know that he has a disdain for 3D romance, and his entire personality is being an otaku with a crush on Tsunami. That's it. For the most, they perform their duties as supporting characters with little indication of their lives moving outside of the plot. At times, they throw themselves entirely on hold in order to make sure the main pairing is content, which is just poor writing. The only time they have conflicting plans is during the ghost chaos, or when there's a fight occurring, which is again, bad writing. Just about the only side characters I enjoy are Linda, which is despite her poor choices, and Asaki Nana, because she's from a much better series, and I loathe that she is being subjected to the events of Golden Time, however out of character she is. Obviously, this is technically a separate character, written in the image of our original saint Nana, blessed be her name, but she's still a saving grace in a show full of cowards and mumblers. The honesty she displays time and again is something admirable, especially when people keep refusing to tell the truth, even in the face of it causing countless emotional grief. When I was told to watch Golden Time, people promised me a deeply emotional conclusion. An emotional moment that would leave me in tears. And I'm a teary dude, so I'm pretty easy to hit with the feels. But this was incredibly weak. Just incredibly weak. Suddenly both Bun-Ri and Linda can see the amnesia ghost, and it has corporeal form. I beg your ineffable pardon. Is this because of the mist, or is it just because they're in the right emotional state? Also, the ring being recovered from the river after it fell out of Bun-Ri's pocket in the same episode was so painful that I almost heard my jaw click from gritting my teeth. At the end of the day, Golden Time is visually passable. It's thematically fine, but it's not something worthy of its audience's claims of authenticity, of deeply emotional storytelling, of a powerful love that will shake even the sturdiest viewers. It's a deeply lacking story of young romance with auspices it can neither hold to nor maintain. Personally, I would like the 8.4 hours I spent watching this back, but we all have things we want, huh?
さようなら。